show you how to transfer markings from your pattern to your fabric, because I've observed from experience teaching students, most times they want the fast way, quick way, but it's better to do it right than to do it and unpick again, and which will at the long run delay your sewing process. So here before me I have a commercial pattern. This is a commercial pattern of a sleeve, and you can see the cutting line. The solid black line is a cutting line for various sizes. This pattern is from size 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 and so on. That's what the pattern, the green line. So for you to be able to sew accurately, the pattern drafter has already worked on the pattern. Then there is need for you to get the actual seam allowance. When you finish sewing, the sizing will be right. So this one is another pattern that we draft. Actually is a piece of pattern for a bag, and here we already have the markings, as you can see. So to do this transfer of markings, I'm going to use tracing wheel. I have two colors here. We also need a seam gauge, we need the tailor's chalk, and also the tracing paper. And I showed you before at the introduction, these are actually cut into small size, but there are some that come in big sizes that will be big enough to cover the pattern. As you can see, this is big enough to take every information I need for my pattern. What I'm going to show you now is how to use the paper to transfer. So what I normally tell students, this is your pattern, and this is the 2 layers of fabric that you want to transfer. So we have 3 here, 1, 2, 3. So what I do, I tell them that you should regard your tracing paper, see it as your butter or cheese, while you see the 2 fabric as your bread. So always ensure you sandwich this in between the 2, because you want to transfer this. The paper itself has a color, and they come in several colors, not just red. But always use darker color for lighter fabric, and when you are transferring your marking into black fabric or brown fabric, use lighter transfer paper like cream or yellow, colors that will show on black. So the next thing, you should fold the tracing paper and insert it in between like I suggested. I told you, remove your pins and fold. So I'm going to be transferring an area at a time. So I'm going to start with this area. I put down my pattern and I pin in place. So using my tracing wheel, you can see the tracing wheel. Your finger should sit into the tracing wheel, and depends on the type you are using anyway. Then I'm actually going to trace out a size 8. So I do that. When you are doing, you can see I'm doing a back and forth motion. What this is doing is transferring the ink to my fabric. So let's see what we've just done. Remove your pin and check. You see, you can see the marking here, and you can also see it on the other side. So I'll do that. When I finish with one side, I go to another spot. I'm putting my tracing paper, pin in place, and continue. So that way your commercial pattern will last you for a long time, and you don't just use and dispose of or cut off the size you need. So if somebody else's need a size 16, I can still use the pattern without discarding it. Here I'm going to use this one, the brown paper. If I want to transfer the informations here, the first thing I will do is to take my pin, your dressmaker pin, could be the dressmaker pin or any regular pin. So what I do is insert it at a point, take back my paper and mark there. Go to another point, insert the pin, take back the paper and mark. I like using this when I'm transferring that information to my fabric. Insert, take back the paper and mark. So I can now just freehand and connect what I've transferred, and it's accurate. So you can do this to this part of it. You just insert again, take back the paper mark, insert, take back the paper mark, then freestyle, connect each point you've marked, and in the process I've transferred the information. So when I sew, it will be accurate. Another technique I'm going to show you is using tailor stacking. So what you do, you need a threaded needle, and make sure you thread it that you have 4 strands of thread, and you cannot, you see it's a temporary stitch, so it won't pull out when you are transferring. So what I will do, I'll run basting stitches on the size I want. When you are running the stitches, make sure it's loose, as you can see, so when I pull them apart, the information will be passed to the fabric. After tacking, I'm going to separate this. You can see the thread has been separated to the fabric. Then I cut. So this is tailor stack, and most tailors, mostly in tailoring of suits, they use this information a lot. So I've been able to mark the actual size I want. I can use it for darts, for anything I want to transfer the information from my pattern to my fabric. So now on my fabric, I want to add my seam allowance, so when I'm sewing, it will be stress-free. So, but the first thing, using your seam gauge and tailor's chalk, that's what you need for this transfer of marking. So I'll slide it to 5/8 because that's the size of seam allowance that is used in the industry. So 5/8 on my seam gauge, then position it and mark. So I'll make sure while I'm marking, the slide is outside the fabric. Make sure the slide is outside the fabric. And at this point, I can decide to pin. Since I'm joining a seam together, I can pin so that it will not shift. And with this, I will sew and it will be accurate.